Okay, I've heard great things about the HCL channel. Let me hear it a little bit.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Okay, this sounds starting to sound like the channel, right? Okay. So what I wanted to do is just share with you. All of this happens within a context, right? It's all easy for us to celebrate such a wonderful moment. I'm very thankful to Ajay and his team for getting so aggressive, getting a product like this together. There's been many sleepless nights trying to put this thing together, mostly for Ajay's team, and I think they've achieved something fantastic. And I think the results of that is going to show. I have absolutely no doubt about that. But again, in some ways, all of this has to happen within a context. And I'm going to touch upon a little bit of a sobering message about some of the impediments that we might have in really growing this market. And hopefully towards the end of what I'm going to say, set a little bit of a stage for where we think the market is going to go. And then I want to talk a little bit about Intel. Okay, with that, let me move forward here. Get this thing to work. Close it? Okay, there you go. So let me just let this build out for a second. So there are two lines here, right? The pink one is broadband penetration in India by household, right? Year 2003 all the way to 2012. That is the current projections. This is from an organization called Global Insight. They've been doing this research for a long time. And the blue line, or at least it looks like blue, is a similar projection for Brazil. And if you project this backwards, a few years back, we sort of was at about the same level of household penetration. What this tells us is that we've not invested and Brazil has invested. That's all this graph tells us. But the more dramatic or the more scary part of this foil is the two lines that are drawing themselves out right now. The line that is very closely tracking India's line, actually I can use the pointer here. The line that's very closely tracking India's line is our GDP per capita. And the line that is tracking Brazil's line is Brazil's GDP per capita. This is the size of their economy per individual in the country. And the amazing thing is how closely it tracks the broadband penetration in the country. So if there is one message that I'd like to leave with you today is, wherever you get an influence, wherever you have a touch point, wherever you talk to a government official, wherever you talk to anybody in the ecosystem who can impact investments in India that attack this issue of broadband penetration, that'll make you a significant player in growing this market. And this is one of the biggest challenges that we're going to have going forward. Ajay and I have been talking about this for many months now. We have multiple interactions happening simultaneously to really impact this. But the point I want to leave you with is that unless we fix this problem over the long period of time in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, this is going to be a serious impediment for us in expanding this market, because ultimately the one experience that these products are going to deliver is your ability to get on the internet, and not just get on the internet, but be able to use the internet in a very rich manner. And that can be facilitated only if you have broadband. Okay, so all of those things tie in. Let me very quickly touch upon Intel. Traditionally, we focused on these segments: notebooks, desktops, and servers. This is what we've done for the last 25 years. All of our focus on products in terms of making them more performant, making them more energy efficient, adding features, addressing different market segments, all of them have been focused on these form factors. And like Ajay said, this form factor was introduced in the early 80s. This form factor was introduced in the mid 80s. And from a pure form factor standpoint, just at that very high level, sort of a desktop form factor and a clamshell notebook form factor. That's pretty much all that has been the growth engine of the PC industry, and certainly as a result the IT industry. Where are we going next? Where we are going next is really taking the same technology, similar levels of performance, various other optimizations in the product, a whole host of new products, that Intel is going to start announcing in the middle of this year. We gave a preview of that last year in April. That's when we first came out saying we're going to build a whole series of new families of products that will address the affordable marketplace, the low power, low cost marketplace. And what this is going to reflect, even though on the picture here it looks like a notebook, a clamshell notebook, you're going to see an enormous explosion of form factors. You're going to see a lot of different shapes and sizes of these things coming, with pull-out keyboards, with virtual keyboards, with keyboards that scroll, on and on and on. And things that address specific market usages, things that you address the needs of very individuals that use it in a given market, and on and on and on. All of those permutations are going to be addressed. And you're going to increasingly see what again Ajay touched upon, which is really that these are becoming not just carry with me product, but carry on me. You know, if you put it just like a cell phone, you put it in your pocket, it's with you all the time, or ladies carry it in a handbag. Similarly, you're going to see these computing devices behave. So ultimately, we believe that a lot of these things are going to mimic what has happened on the pure voice communication area. We think a similar thing is going to happen on data communication. And just to reflect the state of where things are in a market like India, there is sufficient external indication now that ultimately the way we'll build this infrastructure out that is needed to use all of those products is to build a nationwide, robust network, broadband wireless network around WiMAX. And clearly this is the technology that has gotten momentum around the world. Most of the world is converged around saying that the next generation of broadband infrastructure has to be wireless, and hopefully, you know, India is going to head in the same direction. So this is the vision that we are painting for ourselves. This is our focus. This is what we want to make happen in the Indian marketplace. Get 40% of this nation on the internet. Today we are, by some estimates, 50 plus million people on the internet. We want to 10x that in the next 5 years. We want to get 500 million people or 50 crore people on the internet. We want to make available 100 million broadband enabled devices. Today's estimates, we are probably in the 7, 8, 10 million range. So again, 10x the number that we are in today. And obviously, the big hinge factor in that, the big thing that will actually make that happen is the infrastructure. For us to have somewhere in the range of 100 million broadband connections. So this is the mantra with which we are going to charge forward and enable this market. Obviously, HCL is going to be an incredibly important partner in driving that. And the amazing thing is how much of a shared overlap and you know, driven by our shared experience, we brought to the table in terms of the vision that we wanted to drive. You know, HCL and Intel almost, you know, sing exactly the same song that we want to sing. And this is where I think I want to register the support of those of you who are actually on the ground doing the business. Want to give you that comfort that this business is going to grow in numbers and shapes and sizes very similar to what you've seen happen in the cell phone industry, but perhaps even at a bigger scale as the experience grows in the use of the internet in India. So with that, what I'd like to do is to just play a quick clip from recorded earlier from our Executive Vice President, Sean Maloney. He's the worldwide head of sales and marketing and the chief sales and marketing officer. And he was very pleased to record a message to the entire HCL family. So if you would roll the video, please.